In a small, quiet town on the edge of a busy world, there lived a man named Daniel and his young daughter, Lily. Daniel was not a wealthy man. He worked long hours fixing things for people, from old radios to broken kitchen sinks. His small repair shop stood at the corner of their street, filled with tools, wires, and the smell of coffee and oil. Life was simple, and Daniel did his best to make sure Lily never felt the weight of their struggles. He had raised her alone after her mother had passed away when Lily was just 5 years old. Despite the sadness they both carried, their home was filled with laughter, music, and small joys that made life beautiful. Lily had a special love for the flute, a gift from her late mother. She practiced every evening by the window, filling the neighborhood with soft, sweet melodies that made even the tired neighbors smile. That flute was not just an instrument. It was her memory, her dream, and her way of speaking to the world. One rainy evening, as Lily hurried home from school, a slip on the wet sidewalk sent her beloved flute flying out of her hands. It landed with a harsh clatter, and when she picked it up, her heart broke into a million pieces. The once beautiful silver body was bent, and the keys that used to dance under her fingers were twisted out of shape. Tears welled up in her eyes as she clutched the broken instrument to her chest. At home, Daniel immediately understood the depth of her sorrow. Without a word, he pulled her into a warm hug, letting her cry as much as she needed. That night, after Lily had cried herself to sleep, Daniel sat at the kitchen table under the yellow light, examining the flute. His hands, rough and calloused from years of repairing machines, trembled slightly as he turned the broken instrument over. He was no expert in musical repairs, but he loved his daughter more than anything in the world. If there was even a small chance he could bring back her music, he had to try. Daniel spent the entire night in his shop. He wiped down the workbench, cleared away the usual clutter, and laid the flute carefully in front of him. Using the gentlest tools he owned, he began working slowly, studying every bend and break. He searched online for guides, watched videos, and even called an old friend who once worked in an instrument repair shop. Hour after hour passed, and outside, the rain continued to fall, tapping gently against the windows. His back ached, his eyes burned from strain, but he did not stop. Every delicate adjustment, every careful tap, was driven by pure love. As dawn began to peek over the rooftops, casting a pale light into the workshop, Daniel finally set down his tools. The flute looked almost new again, polished and shining softly. The keys moved with a whisper, and the body was straight and strong. He tested it carefully, producing a few clear notes. It was not perfect, but it was whole again. When Lily woke up, she found the flute resting on her pillow, a simple note next to it that read, "For my little star, never stop playing." She gasped, running her fingers over the familiar silver surface, tears of happiness filling her eyes. Without wasting a moment, she lifted the flute to her lips and played a soft tune. It was shaky at first, but as the music filled the house, it seemed as if the walls themselves sighed in relief. Daniel listened from the kitchen, a tired smile on his face. At that moment, nothing else mattered. Not the bills, not the endless work hours, not the broken dreams. Only the sound of Lily's music and the joy it brought mattered. That day, Lily couldn't stop smiling. She played her flute for hours, practicing her favorite songs and even learning a few new ones. Her laughter returned, and with it, the entire house seemed brighter, warmer. Daniel, watching her from the doorway, felt a deep peace settle over him. He realized that fixing her flute had done more than restore an instrument. It had repaired something inside both of them, something that had been quietly breaking under the weight of grief and worry. That evening, Lily decided to make a small video thanking her father and showing how he had fixed her flute. She posted it online, tagging a few friends from school and her music teacher. It was a simple, heartfelt video, with her smiling shyly at the camera before playing a sweet, bright tune. Neither she nor Daniel expected much from it. It was just a small way of saying thank you and sharing their happiness. But sometimes, the smallest gestures have the biggest echoes. That night, as they finished dinner and got ready for bed, Daniel's phone buzzed with a new notification. Then another, and another. Curious, he picked up the phone and saw that Lily's video had started spreading. First a few likes, then dozens, then hundreds. Comments poured in, people touched by the story of a father who refused to let his daughter's dream die. Musicians shared it, parents shared it, and even a few local news pages picked it up. Daniel laughed quietly, shaking his head in disbelief. He showed Lily, and together they watched as the views climbed higher and higher. Strangers left messages, praising the bond between father and daughter, offering words of encouragement, and some even offering gifts like free concert tickets or music lessons. Lily's eyes shone brighter than ever before. She hugged Daniel tightly, whispering a thank you that meant more than words could express. That night, as the world outside slept, inside their little home, hope and happiness bloomed like never before. They had no idea that the next morning would bring even more surprises that would forever change their lives in ways they never imagined. The next morning arrived with a clear blue sky, and a cool breeze danced through the quiet town. Daniel woke up early as usual, but something felt different. There was a strange excitement in the air, like the town itself was holding its breath. As he sipped his morning coffee, Daniel noticed the number of notifications on his phone had exploded overnight. Lily's video had not just gone a little viral, it had spread like wildfire. Famous musicians, local celebrities, and even national news outlets had picked it up. People from all over the country were commenting, sharing, and celebrating the simple, yet powerful story of a father repairing his daughter's broken flute. Messages poured in offering help, music schools sent scholarships, and even instrument companies wanted to send gifts. Daniel could hardly believe what he was seeing. Lily was still asleep, her flute resting safely on the table beside her, and Daniel let her enjoy her peaceful dreams a little longer. Meanwhile, unknown to Daniel, something even bigger was in motion. The video had reached a woman sitting far away in a tall glass office, a woman who knew a thing or two about music and dreams. She was the director of one of the biggest foundations that supported young musicians. When she saw the video of Lily playing her newly repaired flute, tears filled her eyes. She remembered her own father, his rough hands fixing her first violin. She made a few quick calls, spoke to a few important people, and within hours, a plan was set into motion. Daniel, still unaware of what was unfolding, decided to take Lily out for breakfast at their favorite diner to celebrate the sudden outpouring of love from strangers. Lily skipped along the sidewalk, her heart light, her soul singing. At the diner, many familiar faces waved at them, some even clapped softly, smiling warmly. News traveled fast in a small town, and their story had clearly touched everyone around them. As they finished their breakfast, a low rumble filled the air. At first, Daniel thought it was just a heavy truck passing by, but the sound grew louder, more distinct. People inside the diner rushed to the windows, pointing toward the sky. When Daniel stepped outside, he couldn't believe his eyes. A sleek, silver helicopter was descending slowly toward the open field across the street. The helicopter's sides gleamed in the morning sun, proudly displaying the logo of the world-famous Music Foundation. A small crowd began to gather, neighbors whispering and wondering what was happening. The helicopter touched down gracefully, and a woman in a smart suit stepped out, carrying a small velvet box in her hands. She was surrounded by a few assistants and a camera crew who captured every moment. She walked straight toward Daniel and Lily, her steps confident but her smile warm and genuine. Before Daniel could say a word, the woman introduced herself and explained that she had seen Lily's video. She told them how moved she had been by the simple act of a father repairing a broken flute, and how it had reminded so many people of the power of love, persistence, and hope. She had come to offer Lily a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Inside the velvet box was a brand-new, handcrafted flute, specially made for rising musicians. It was a gift from the foundation to support Lily's musical journey. Daniel's heart swelled with pride and gratitude as he watched Lily's eyes widen in amazement. The woman also announced that the foundation wanted to offer Lily a full scholarship to one of the most prestigious music academies in the country, along with a special mentorship program where she would be guided by some of the world's greatest musicians. The crowd around them erupted in cheers. Daniel's eyes misted over as he hugged his daughter tightly. All he had wanted was to fix her broken flute, to mend a little piece of her heart. He never imagined that his small act of love would open doors that once seemed impossibly far away. Lily beamed with happiness, her small hands cradling the new flute as if it were the most precious treasure in the world. Reporters rushed to take pictures and ask questions, but Daniel held Lily close, shielding her from the overwhelming attention. They had always lived a simple life, quiet and private, and all this sudden fame was something they were not used to. Yet, in that moment, none of the noise mattered. What mattered was the dream taking flight before their very eyes. Later that day, the foundation arranged a small gathering at the town hall. They wanted to officially honor Daniel and Lily in front of the entire community. The mayor gave a heartfelt speech about kindness, resilience, and the importance of family. He praised Daniel for his dedication and sacrifice, and he praised Lily for her courage and passion. As Lily performed a short piece on her new flute, the hall fell into a hush, every person in the room holding on to each note as if it were a thread tying them all together. The music was pure and strong, filling the hall with warmth and beauty. It was as if the broken parts of everyone's heart were being stitched together by the soft, clear sound of Lily's music. The foundation director spoke again, announcing plans to establish a new music program in the town, with free lessons for children who could not afford them. She said it was inspired by the story of Daniel and Lily, a reminder that sometimes all it takes is one act of love to change many lives. The crowd clapped, many wiping tears from their eyes. Daniel sat quietly, overwhelmed by everything. He was not used to being the center of attention, but deep down he knew that everything happening now was because he had refused to give up. He had looked at a broken flute and chosen to believe it was worth fixing. And that belief had grown into something larger than he could have ever imagined. That night, as the stars blinked down on the small town, Daniel and Lily sat on the porch, wrapped in a soft old blanket. The events of the day felt like a dream, but the weight of the new flute in Lily's lap was real, and so was the happiness in her smile. They talked softly about the future, about the adventures that awaited, and about how no matter where life took them, they would always carry this day in their hearts. The town around them had changed forever. New hope filled the streets, and people spoke with excitement about the music school, the upcoming concerts, and the joy that had been planted like a seed in their community. Daniel leaned back, closing his eyes and listening to the soft hum of life around him. He thought of all the broken things he had fixed over the years, all the small repairs that had made people's lives just a little bit easier. This, he realized, was the greatest repair of all. Not just the flute, not just his daughter's smile, but the unseen threads of hope, love, and dreams that tied people together. And somehow, in trying to fix one broken thing, he had helped heal a little part of the world too. The following days passed in a beautiful blur for Daniel and Lily. The once quiet life they knew transformed into a busy, exciting new chapter filled with opportunity and growth. Lily's story continued to spread across the internet, and soon, letters began arriving from all parts of the world. Some were from young musicians who had once felt discouraged and found hope through Lily's journey, while others came from parents who shared their own small stories of love and sacrifice. Every letter carried warmth, encouragement, and gratitude, as if Daniel's small act of repairing a flute had sent ripples across countless hearts. The Music Foundation kept their promises quickly. Renovations began at the town's old library building, which was to be transformed into a free music center for children. Posters went up around town, inviting families to register for lessons, and donations poured in from across the country. Instruments, books, and volunteers arrived in numbers that nobody had expected. Daniel was asked to serve as an honorary mentor, helping maintain the instruments and teaching basic repair skills to students, ensuring that the spirit of fixing and caring would continue for generations. Lily, meanwhile, began preparing for her scholarship journey. The prestigious music academy where she was offered admission sent a personal coach to help her polish her skills. Every afternoon after school, Lily would sit in their small living room, the walls now covered with notes of encouragement from strangers and friends alike, and she would practice until the stars blinked awake in the evening sky. Her music grew stronger, fuller, and more confident, filling not just their home but the whole street with melodies that spoke of dreams, healing, and love. Daniel watched her with quiet pride, knowing that she was ready to take her place in a world far bigger than their small town. Yet despite all the new excitement, Lily never lost her gentle heart. She spent time helping younger children who came to the new music center, showing them how to hold an instrument properly, encouraging them when they struggled, and celebrating every small success. She had learned from her father that fixing broken things, whether flutes or spirits, was one of the greatest gifts a person could give. One Saturday morning, just before Lily's departure to the academy, the town decided to hold a special celebration in honor of Daniel and Lily. The old town square was decorated with colorful banners, fresh flowers, and a small stage where local musicians and school children would perform. Tables were lined with homemade treats, and the sweet scent of cinnamon rolls and apple pies filled the air. Families gathered in excitement, and for once, Everyone left their worries behind to share in a moment of pure joy. Daniel was deeply moved as he looked around at the faces of people he had known all his life. He remembered repairing Mrs. Johnson's old toaster, fixing the bicycle chain for little Tommy next door, patching the roof for Mr. Adams during a heavy rainstorm. Each act had seemed small at the time, but now he saw how those acts had stitched their lives together into something strong and beautiful. When Lily stepped onto the stage, flute in hand, the entire crowd grew silent. The afternoon sun bathed her in golden light, and for a moment, she looked almost like an angel standing there, small yet mighty. She lifted her flute and played a song she had written herself, inspired by her journey, her father's love, and the belief that even broken things can sing again. The music floated across the square, weaving its way into every heart, pulling smiles and tears alike from the crowd. It was a melody full of hope, of courage, of gratitude, and it spoke louder than any words could. When she finished, there was a moment of stunned silence before the square erupted into cheers and applause that seemed to shake the very sky. After the celebration, as the sun dipped low and the streetlights flickered to life, Daniel and Lily sat together once more on their familiar porch. In the quiet hum of the evening, Daniel realized that life was not about grand gestures or riches. It was about the small things, the late nights spent fixing a beloved object, the soft encouragement offered when someone wanted to give up, the silent promises made to always be there no matter what. Those little things, added together over time, built something unbreakable. They built a home, a family, a future. Tomorrow, Lily would leave for the academy, stepping into a world filled with challenges and wonders. Daniel knew he would miss her terribly. The house would feel emptier, the days would seem longer, but he also knew that he had given her roots strong enough to hold her steady and wings sturdy enough to let her fly. Before heading inside, Lily leaned her head against Daniel's shoulder, and together they sat for a while longer, wrapped in the comforting silence that needed no words. In the soft darkness, Daniel thought of all the broken flutes, broken toys, and broken dreams he had seen over the years. He thought of all the times he had almost lost hope, but chose instead to believe in repair, in healing, in the quiet, patient work of making things whole again. And he smiled because he understood now more than ever that even when something feels lost, even when it seems too broken to fix, there is always a way to mend it if you care enough to try. The next morning, as the town gathered once more to send Lily off, the energy was electric with pride and excitement. Neighbors lined the streets, holding signs and flowers, waving as Lily made her way to the small bus that would take her to the city and beyond. Daniel held back his tears as he hugged her tightly, whispering a quiet promise to always be waiting for her whenever she needed to come home. As the bus pulled away, Lily waved from the window, her new flute shining in the morning light, a symbol of all that had been broken and made new. Daniel stood there for a long time, even after the bus disappeared down the road, feeling the warmth of the community around him, feeling the hope Lily carried with her. He knew that life would continue to have its challenges, that things would still break, and dreams would still falter, but he also knew now without a doubt that love, patience, and a willingness to fix what others might throw away could turn even the saddest stories into something beautiful. As he walked slowly back to the workshop, Daniel felt a deep sense of peace settle over him. The tools hanging neatly on the walls, the projects waiting patiently on his workbench, all reminded him of the endless possibilities hidden in broken things. He poured himself a cup of coffee, sat down by the window, and picked up a small, broken music box someone had left the day before. Gently, carefully, he began to work, humming a soft tune as he did. The town buzzed softly outside, filled with new music, new dreams, and new beginnings. And so, life moved forward, with a heart full of gratitude, a home full of memories, and hands ready to mend whatever came next.